All right, so are you ready to plunge headfirst into the icy world of polar exploration?
You bet. Always up for an adventure.
Well, get ready because today we're going deep into the life of Roald Amundsen, a guy who basically wrote the book on how to conquer the most extreme corners of the Earth.
Amundsen. Now there's a name that echoes through history.
We'll be using excerpts from his Wikipedia page as our compass, and trust me, this story is packed with more twists and turns than a glacier. We're talking daring expeditions, fierce rivalries, and a disappearance that'll leave you chilled to the bone.
Sounds like quite the journey.
First, we'll unravel how Amundsen managed to outmaneuver his competition and become the first to reach the South Pole.
A feat that's etched in the annals of exploration.
But we'll go beyond just the what and delve into the who. What drove this man? Was it pure ambition, strategic brilliance, or maybe a touch of secrecy that helped him reach the top?
I'm already intrigued. It's fascinating how these explorers, these individuals who dared to venture into the unknown, were shaped by their experiences and motivations.
And speaking of shaping, it's pretty surprising that Amundsen's path to polar exploration wasn't exactly a straight line.
Oh, tell me more. How so?
Picture this. The guy's born into a family of seafarers, practically destined to rule the waves.
A natural-born sailor, you'd think.
But hold on, his mother had a different vision for him. She insisted on a career in medicine. Can you imagine Amundsen, the polar pioneer, trading his ice axe for a stethoscope?
It's certainly hard to picture, but I guess even a mother's wishes couldn't completely extinguish that burning desire for adventure.
You're telling me? The moment his mother passed away, Amundsen dropped everything, even medical school, to answer the call of the wild.
He must have had an unyielding spirit.
At just 21, that determination, that drive to explore, was already blazing bright.
And what fueled that fire? What set him on the path to the poles?
Now comes the catalyst. The spark that ignited his lifelong obsession. The tales of John Franklin's doomed Arctic expeditions.
Franklin's expeditions, those were harrowing chapters in the history of Arctic exploration.
Filled with both hardship and incredible discoveries. These accounts captivated Amundsen, almost as if they were a roadmap to his own destiny.
It's amazing how the echoes of past expeditions can resonate so powerfully with future explorers, inspiring them to follow in those footsteps, or perhaps to forge their own paths.
And here's a little tidbit that shows just how connected the world of polar exploration was. Are you ready for this?
Lay it on me.
As a child, Amundsen actually played with another future Antarctic explorer, Karsten Borchgrevink. Talk about foreshadowing, right?
Wow, that's a pretty remarkable coincidence. Two future pioneers of polar exploration playing together as kids. It makes you wonder if they had any inkling of the extraordinary adventures that lay ahead.
It really is incredible, isn't it? To think these two kids had no clue they'd both go on to make history in the frozen realms of the Earth. But fast forward a few years, and at just 25, Amundsen's ambition lands him a spot as first mate on the Belgian Antarctic expedition. This made them the first to overwinter in Antarctica, and I bet that was an experience unlike any other.
Overwintering in Antarctica at the turn of the 20th century, talk about pushing the limits of human endurance.
But things didn't quite go according to plan, did they?
Ah, yes, the best laid plans of explorers and all that. What happened?
Their ship, the Belgica, got trapped in the unforgiving grip of the Antarctic ice. They were woefully unprepared for an extended stay, you see. Freezing temperatures, dwindling supplies, and the constant threat of the unknown. This was a true test of human resilience.
A chilling situation, to say the least. How did they manage?
It was a close call, really. If it hadn't been for the quick thinking of the expedition's doctor, Frederick Cook, they might not have made it out alive. He noticed the crew was showing signs of scurvy.
Scurvy, a debilitating disease caused by vitamin C deficiency. It was a common scourge for sailors on long voyages.
And a potentially fatal one if left untreated. So what did Cook do?
Well, knowing the dangers of scurvy, he must have acted swiftly to replenish their vitamin C levels.
Exactly. He knew they needed a source of vitamin C, and fast. He started hunting for fresh meat, especially organ meats.
Organ meats? Why organ meats specifically?
They're surprisingly rich in vitamin C. And this was way before they fully understood the link between vitamin C and scurvy, so Cook's resourcefulness was truly remarkable.
A true testament to the importance of thinking outside the box, especially in those kinds of life-or-death situations.
This whole experience was a harsh but valuable lesson in adaptability and survival in those extreme conditions.
It seems Amundsen learned a lot from this ordeal, which served him well in his later expeditions. It's fascinating how these early experiences can shape an explorer's approach to future challenges.
You're right. It really forged his understanding of the importance of resourcefulness and meticulous planning. Now, after his Antarctic adventure, Amundsen sets his sights on a new target, a prize that had captivated explorers for centuries, the Northwest Passage.
Ah, the Northwest Passage, a legendary sea route through the treacherous Arctic archipelago. Countless expeditions had tried and failed to navigate its icy labyrinth.
But Amundsen, he was determined to crack the code, and his approach was pretty ingenious.
I'm all ears. How did he plan to tackle this elusive passage?
Instead of going for a large, powerful vessel like most explorers before him, Amundsen chose a smaller, shallower draft ship called the Gjøa.
That seems counterintuitive. Wouldn't a larger, sturdier ship be better suited for those icy waters?
You'd think so, right. But this decision gave him a crucial edge. The smaller ship allowed him to hug the coastline, navigating through narrow channels that larger ships just couldn't access. Plus, he outfitted the Gjøa with a small diesel engine, a relatively new technology at the time. This gave him added maneuverability in those tricky Arctic waters.
Smart move. It seems Amundsen was always looking for ways to innovate and leverage the latest technology. But technology alone wasn't enough, was it?
You're absolutely right. He knew that in a place as unforgiving as the Arctic, local knowledge was crucial.
So he didn't just rely on maps and compasses.
Exactly. He spent 2 winters on King William Island, immersing himself in the culture and the survival skills of the Netsilik Inuit people.
The Netsilik Inuit, they were renowned for their deep understanding of the Arctic environment and their ability to thrive in those harsh conditions.
That's right. And their knowledge would prove invaluable to Amundsen's success. What's fascinating is that he didn't just observe, he learned. He mastered the art of dog sledding, realized the value of layering fur clothing for warmth, and gained a profound respect for the land and its rhythms. These skills, honed over generations by the Inuit, would be his secret weapon in his later triumph at the South Pole.
It's remarkable how he recognized the value of indigenous knowledge and wasn't afraid to learn from those who truly understood the Arctic environment. He was ahead of his time in that regard.
Absolutely. He understood that survival in the Arctic depended on more than just technology and willpower. It required a deep understanding of the land and a willingness to adapt to its challenges. And adapt he did. After those 2 winters of learning and preparation, Amundsen and his crew achieved what so many before them had failed to do.
They finally conquered the Northwest Passage.
In 1905, they emerged on the Pacific side, successfully navigating that legendary sea route after an arduous 3-year journey.
What a remarkable accomplishment. It's a testament to Amundsen's leadership, his meticulous planning, and his willingness to embrace the knowledge of those who knew the Arctic best.
He wasn't just conquering the Arctic, he was respecting it, learning its secrets, and adapting to its rhythms. A true testament to his brilliance as an explorer.
And this was just the beginning of his polar adventures. What an incredible start to an extraordinary career. You'd think conquering the Northwest Passage would be enough for one lifetime, wouldn't you?
Right. You'd think he'd kick back, relax, maybe write a book about his adventures, but that wasn't Amundsen's style.
Not even close. The man was practically a force of nature himself, always pushing further, aiming higher.
And his next target was a big one that had obsessed explorers for centuries, reaching the North Pole.
Ah, the North Pole, the very top of the world. A prize that had lured many explorers to their doom. What was Amundsen's plan for tackling this legendary challenge?
Well, initially, he wanted to follow in the footsteps of another famous explorer, Fridtjof Nansen. Let his ship get deliberately trapped in the Arctic ice and just drift across the polar basin.
That's a pretty bold strategy, letting nature do the navigating for you.
Right. Talk about putting your fate in the hands of the ice. But it seems fate had other plans.
Oh, what happened? Did the ice not cooperate?
Not exactly. News arrived that both Frederick Cook and Robert Peary had already claimed to have reached the North Pole.
Well, that's a game changer.
Yeah.
Suddenly, planting the Norwegian flag at the North Pole was no longer the ultimate prize.
So what do you think Amundsen did? Packed up his bags and called it quits. Not a chance. This guy was made of sterner stuff.
He wouldn't be deterred that easily. So what was his next move?
He set his sights on an even more audacious goal, the South Pole. But here's where things get a little, controversial.
Controversial? How so?
He decided to keep his intentions secret, even from his Norwegian supporters.
Wow. Talk about a bold move. Keeping everyone in the dark about his true destination. Why all the secrecy?
He wanted to avoid tipping off his rivals, especially Robert Falcon Scott. a British explorer who was also planning a South Pole expedition.
Ah, the race to the South Pole. It's one of the most dramatic chapters in the history of exploration. Two determined teams, each striving for the ultimate prize.
And Amundsen's secrecy just added fuel to the fire, turning it into a high-stakes game of cat and mouse. So while the rest of the world was focused on the North Pole, Amundsen was quietly preparing for his audacious South Pole mission. He arrived in Antarctica in January 1911 and set up his base camp, Framheim, on the Ross Ice Shelf.
Framheim, a name that would become synonymous with Amundsen's polar triumphs. But what set his expedition apart from Scott's? What gave him the edge in this epic race?
A few things, actually. First, his choice of transportation. He decided to use dog sleds, a mode of transport he had mastered during his time with the Netsilik Inuit.
Dog sleds, an ingenious choice. They were perfectly suited to the harsh terrain and unpredictable weather of the Antarctic.
And he wasn't just relying on any old dog sleds. He carefully selected his dogs, breeding them for strength, endurance, and most importantly, their ability to work together as a team. He even adopted some of the Inuit techniques for training and caring for his dogs. He understood that their well-being was essential to the success of the expedition.
It's fascinating how he combined his own knowledge with the wisdom of the Inuit, creating a truly formidable team.
Right. And his strategic brilliance didn't stop there. He established a series of supply depots along his planned route to the South Pole.
Supply depots. That's smart thinking. It meant his team wouldn't have to carry all their supplies with them, reducing weight and increasing their speed.
Exactly. He was thinking several steps ahead, anticipating challenges and minimizing risks.
But there was another, more controversial aspect to his strategy, wasn't there? The use of dogs for, well, more than just transportation.
You're talking about the fact that he also used his dogs as a food source, a practice that raises complex ethical questions, even today. On the one hand, it was a pragmatic decision. In those extreme conditions, survival often meant making tough choices.
Right. It was a different time, with different values. And yet, it forces us to confront the moral dilemmas of exploration, the balance between ambition and our responsibility to the natural world.
Absolutely. It's a reminder that even the most celebrated achievements can have their shadows. But despite the controversy, there's no denying Amundsen's incredible feat. He and his team of 5 reached the South Pole on December 14, 1911, a full month before Scott's ill-fated expedition.
Can you imagine that moment? Standing at the bottom of the world, a place no human had ever set foot on before.
It's a testament to human courage, determination, and the relentless pursuit of a seemingly impossible dream. They planted the Norwegian flag, claiming this desolate yet magnificent territory for their country.
A triumph of human will against all odds.
But even after conquering the South Pole, Amundsen's thirst for exploration was far from quenched.
What was next on his agenda? Where would this restless spirit lead him next?
Back to the Arctic, this time with his sights set firmly on the North Pole. But he wouldn't be relying on dog sleds or drifting ships. He was ready to embrace a revolutionary new technology, aviation.
So Amundsen was ready to trade in those trusty dog sleds for something a bit more, well, airborne.
Exactly. He saw the potential of aviation, to completely revolutionize how we explore the polar regions.
Yeah, aircraft can cover such vast distances in a fraction of the time it would take a ship or a dog sled.
And that opens up a whole new world of possibilities, right? For scientific research, for making new discoveries, especially in a place like the Arctic.
It was a visionary idea, but let's be honest, flying in the Arctic back then, that must have been incredibly risky.
Oh yeah, absolutely. The technology was still pretty new, and the weather conditions in the Arctic, well, they're notoriously unpredictable. But Amundsen never wanted to back down from a challenge.
That's for sure. So what did he do?
In 1925, he teams up with this American explorer, Lincoln Ellsworth, millionaire too, and they decide to attempt a flight to the North Pole from Spitsbergen.
A transpolar flight, wow. Talk about pushing the boundaries.
They had these 2 Dornier Doge flying boats, the N-24 and N-25, sturdy aircraft designed for long-distance flights. But even then, the risks were enormous.
I can only imagine heading into that vast icy wilderness with nothing but thin air and freezing water below.
And, as you might expect, disaster struck.
Oh no, what happened?
The planes had to land a short distance apart, and they lost radio contact with each other.
Oh, that's bad. Isolated and in the Arctic. Anything else?
Yeah, the N-24 was damaged during landing, so Amundsen and his crew were stranded on the ice.
Talk about a nightmare scenario.
It was a life-or-death situation, really. For 3 weeks, they worked tirelessly to clear an airstrip on the ice.
By hand.
You got it. manually shoveled over 600 tons of ice.
The resilience of these explorers never ceases to amaze me.
It's incredible, isn't it? But even with the airstrip cleared, they were still stranded, thousands of miles from civilization, with a damaged plane.
How did they get out of that one?
It was a moment of pure skill and courage, really. The pilot, Hjalmar Reiser Larsen, managed to take off in the N-25.
With all the crew.
All 6 of them crammed aboard. They barely cleared the ice. It was cracking as they were taking off.
A truly narrow escape.
But you know what? This brush with death, it didn't deter Amundsen, not one bit. If anything, it made him even more determined to conquer the North Pole by air.
So he tried again?
Oh, yeah. And just a year later, he achieved that goal in a truly historic expedition. Buckle up for this one.
I am. Tell me everything.
All right, so in 1926, Amundsen partners up with Umberto Nobile, the Italian engineer who designed the Norge,
The Norse.
state-of-the-art airship. This expedition included Ellsworth, Reiser Larsen, and Oscar Wisting, another experienced polar explorer. They took off from Spitsbergen.
So they went for an airship this time, not airplanes.
Airships were all the rage back then, you know. And on May 12, 1926, they flew over the North Pole, landed in Alaska 2 days later.
They actually did it. They flew over the North Pole.
It was a monumental achievement. A whole new era in polar exploration had begun.
And Amundsen, well, he became one of the few explorers to reach both poles. What a legacy.
But of course, there's always some debate in the world of exploration about who did what first.
Ah, that's right. There were other claims about reaching the North Pole, right?
Yeah, Frederick Cook said he did it in 1908, then Robert Peary in 1909. Even Richard Byrd claimed he flew over it just days before the Norge.
So a bit of a historical puzzle then.
Exactly. But regardless of who got there first, you can't deny Amundsen's contribution to polar exploration. He was a true pioneer, pushing the limits, constantly innovating.
Absolutely. He was a visionary leader, a master planner, and a man who wasn't afraid to try new things, new technology.
And his legacy, well, it lives on, not just in those places named after him, but also in that spirit of adventure, of pushing boundaries that he embodied. But as you know, his story doesn't end on a triumphant note.
Yeah, the disappearance. Such a tragic end to such a remarkable life.
1928, he vanishes on a rescue mission. Adds this whole layer of mystery to his story.
So what happened? How did he disappear?
It all started with Umberto Nobile, the engineer who designed the Norge. He led another expedition to the North Pole, this time in a new airship, the Italia. But tragically, it crashed on the ice north of Svalbard.
On the way back.
Yeah, leaving the crew stranded and in desperate need of rescue.
I can only imagine how terrifying that must have been for them. Stranded on the ice, waiting for help.
And when Amundsen heard about it, he didn't hesitate. Volunteered immediately to join the rescue mission.
Typical Amundsen, always ready to face danger head-on.
He put together a crew, took off in a French Latham 47 flying boat.
A flying boat.
Yeah, a relatively new aircraft back then. But the conditions were awful. Fog, storms, terrible visibility.
And then
Amundsen's plane just vanished into the Arctic mists, never to be seen again.
What a heartbreaking end.
Despite all the searching, they never found the wreckage or the bodies. His disappearance remains a mystery to this day, a final haunting chapter in the story of one of history's greatest explorers.
It reminds us that exploration, even with all our modern technology, it still has its risks.
It does, but it also highlights that human spirit, that drive to explore, to push beyond what we know, even when facing danger. Amundsen's legacy, it lives on, not just in the geographical features that bear his name, but in the spirit of adventure and discovery that he embodied.
He showed us what's possible with careful planning, a willingness to adapt, and a good dose of courage.
And that's a lesson we can all take with us, right? To push our own boundaries, to explore, and never stop being curious about the world.
Absolutely. Well said.
So as we wrap up our deep dive into the incredible life of Roald Amundsen, I'd like to thank you for joining us. If you're interested in learning more about this extraordinary explorer, we encourage you to check out his own writings or one of the many biographies about him. Until next time, keep exploring.